Have you ever heard a story so disturbing that it sent shivers down your spine, making you wish you could erase it from your mind? Tonight, I'll take you on a journey through 7 unsettling tales that will leave you questioning what you thought you knew about the world around you. Sit back, but be warned, you may want to keep the lights on for this one. The first story comes from a man who used to work as a security guard for an abandoned hospital. His job was simple: patrol the premises, make sure no one was trespassing, and report any suspicious activity. But nothing could have prepared him for what he encountered during his late-night shifts. One evening, while walking through the dark, decaying halls of the hospital, he heard faint whispers. At first, he thought it was his imagination, but the voices grew louder. He followed the sounds, leading him to the old maternity ward. As he stepped inside, the air turned icy cold, and he could hear the faint cries of a baby. But the room was empty, completely abandoned. Terrified, he ran out and never returned. To this day, he can still hear the cries echoing in his mind. The second tale is about a woman who moved into a new house with her family. It was supposed to be their dream home, but strange things started happening almost immediately. Doors would slam shut on their own, and objects would disappear only to reappear in the most unexpected places. One night, she woke up to the sound of footsteps outside her bedroom door. She assumed it was her husband, but when she turned to check, he was sound asleep beside her. Gathering her courage, she opened the door, only to see a shadowy figure standing at the end of the hallway. It didn't move or make a sound, it just stood there, staring. The family moved out a month later, leaving behind everything they couldn't carry. The third story comes from a man who used to live in a small town surrounded by dense woods. He loved exploring the forest, but one day, he stumbled upon something he wished he hadn't: an old, abandoned cabin deep in the woods. The door was slightly ajar, and curiosity got the better of him. Inside, he found a room filled with strange, ritualistic symbols painted on the walls. In the center of the room was a table with what appeared to be animal bones arranged in a peculiar pattern. As he turned to leave, he heard a low growl behind him. He never saw what it was, but he ran as fast as he could and never went back. The cabin still haunts his dreams. The fourth tale involves a young woman who started receiving strange messages on her phone. They were from an unknown number, and at first, they seemed harmless, random emojis and cryptic phrases. But the messages became increasingly personal, referencing things only she could know. One night, she received a picture of herself, taken through her bedroom window. She immediately called the police, but they couldn't trace the number. Whoever it was, they were never caught, and she eventually moved to a new city, hoping to leave the nightmare behind. The fifth story is about a group of friends who decided to spend the night in an abandoned mental asylum as part of a dare. Armed with flashlights and a sense of adventure, they explored the eerie building, laughing off the creaks and groans of the old structure. But then they found a room with walls covered in scratches, as if someone had been trying to claw their way out. Suddenly, they heard a loud bang, and their flashlights flickered. One of them swore he saw a figure standing in the corner, but when they turned the light on, the room was empty. They ran out, vowing never to speak of what they experienced that night. The sixth tale is about a young boy who had an imaginary friend named Charlie. At first, his parents thought it was harmless, but they started to worry when the boy claimed Charlie would get angry if he didn't do what he was told. One night, the boy woke up screaming, saying Charlie was standing at the foot of his bed. His parents rushed in, but there was no one there. They eventually moved out of the house, but the boy insists that Charlie still visits him in his dreams. The seventh and final story is perhaps the most disturbing. It's about a man who worked the night shift at a morgue. One evening, as he was preparing a body for autopsy, he heard a soft knock on the door. Thinking it was a colleague, he opened it, but no one was there. Shrugging it off, he went back to work, only to hear the knock again, louder this time. When he checked again, the hallway was empty. As he turned back to the room, he noticed something chilling. The body on the table was no longer where he had left it. The man quit his job the next day and refuses to talk about what happened that night. These stories remind us that the world is full of mysteries and horrors we may never fully understand. Whether you believe in the supernatural or think these tales are simply products of overactive imaginations, one thing is certain: they'll stick with you long after the lights go out.